Jimmy sometimes went to stay at his grandparents' home. One Sunday, as he was ready to leave for Sunday school, his grandfather asked him if they had a missionary box in the classroom. "Oh yes," replied Jimmy. So grandfather took out 2 quarters, saying, "Here is 1 quarter for the missionary box, and 1 for you to do with as you like." Then with a twinkle in his eye he added, "Now mind you, don't get them mixed up, Jimmy. You must put them in different pockets." Jimmy caught on to the joke, but he was obedient. He put 1 coin in one pocket and the other coin in a different pocket. But these 2 pockets caused him some trouble. As he was getting near the Sunday school, he suddenly remembered there was a hole in one of his pockets. He clapped his hand to his left side, but to his dismay he could not feel the quarter there. He plunged his hand into the pocket, and sure enough, the quarter was gone. The hole was only a small one. That was why he had said nothing about it to his mother, but it was big enough for a quarter to fall through. Quickly Timmy felt the other pocket. Good, that quarter lay safely. Now Jimmy was faced with a difficult problem. Which quarter was lost? Was it the one which belonged to the Lord's work, or was it his own? He tried hard to remember what grandfather had said. Had he said that the one in the left pocket was for the missionary box, or was it the one in the right pocket? But Jimmy was an honest boy, and he had to admit to himself that his grandfather had said nothing of the kind. It was he and he alone who must make the decision. By the time he reached Sunday school, he still had not settled this big question. Jimmy sang the hymns without thinking of what he was singing, for he was still puzzled over which quarter he had lost. For some weeks he had been saving his money to buy a pair of roller skates. He needed only another $1 to have enough for the pair he wanted, so a quarter meant a lot to him. First he thought he would keep the money for himself. Then he was not sure whether this was honest. He kept asking himself what was the right thing to do. As the battle went on in his mind, he paid very little attention to the lesson, which was something about Elijah and a widow's cruse. Right at the end of the lesson, the teacher said very clearly, "So you see that it is always right to put the Lord first." Always right to put the Lord first. Jimmy heard that well enough, and what is more, he knew that it was the answer to his question. So when the class was over, he dropped the quarter into the box. As he walked home with his friend Randy, perhaps he ought to have felt happy. He had made this sacrifice, but actually he felt sad. His sadness was somewhat increased when Randy announced that with the money he would earn next Saturday, he expected to have enough to buy a pair of roller skates. His father had promised to take him to the store to get them. Poor Jimmy, he had done the right thing, of that he was sure. Yet he found it hard because now he would have to wait longer for his skates. Jimmy's stay at his grandparents' came to an end the following day, and he returned to his home. His parents were so happy to see him again, but Jimmy wasn't back home long before something unusual happened. Jimmy's grandfather unexpectedly came over. He said that he had something important to talk about. At first, Mother was afraid that he had some complaint to make about Jimmy's behavior while he was visiting at his grandparents', but nothing about that was said to her. As soon as she left the room, Grandfather turned to Jimmy and asked, "Jimmy, have you got a hole in one of your pockets?" Jimmy's face turned red as he shook his head yes, but he added that it was only a small one. He wondered how his grandfather could possibly know about it. He soon understood, however, when Grandfather took out a quarter, telling Jimmy that it must have fallen straight through his pocket because Grandmother had found it on the carpet after he had left. "Never mind," said Grandfather, "I'll put it in the missionary box this evening." Jimmy's face fell. Was he to be robbed of his hopes for a pair of skates a second time? Seeing the disappointment on his face, Grandfather asked, "Jimmy, you haven't lost your quarter too, have you?" Then Jimmy explained that it was his own quarter which had been lost, and that he had put the other one into the box. Grown-ups sometimes do strange things. Instead of smiling, Grandfather looked as if he was going to cry. However, in just a moment or so he was smiling. He put the quarter back into his pocket and took out a shining silver dollar. "I think you'd better have this, Jimmy," he said. "It's bigger and won't slip through that hole," he added with a twinkle in his eye. Jimmy could hardly believe his eyes. "Oh, Grandfather, thank you very much. You are so generous," he cried as he looked at the big silver dollar. Later, when he said goodnight, Jimmy's grandfather told him he hoped he would always give the Lord first place in his life. Suddenly, Jimmy remembered that was what his teacher at Sunday school had said. It is always right to put the Lord first. Grandfather was closing the gate when it dawned upon Jimmy that this dollar completed the amount he needed to buy his roller skates. He was one happy boy. Now he would not even have to wait until Saturday like Randy.